Occasionally, just occasionally, I'll be asked, how can you level fast solo in Dofus? Now, I'm not talking dungeon leeching or power leveled by alt accounts or anything like that. You want to know how to play the game and maximize that XP while you do it. Well, I've come up with all the suggestions I could think of. We're going to talk about them. Let's do this. Alright, I have done my best to make this video as solo gameplay friendly as possible. Now, some things may apply more to lower levels and some things will apply more to higher levels, so you'll have to kind of gauge that for yourself as we go through this video. But hopefully there's going to be some great stuff in here, help you maximize your XP while you play this amazing game called Dofus. Alright, first thing we gotta bring up is wisdom. Should you be pumping points into your wisdom characteristic to try to level quicker? In case you didn't know, every one wisdom point is a 1% increase. So every 100 points, you've basically increased your XP by 100% with every fight. So if you're trying to level fast, it makes sense to be pumping points into there, right? I would say no. Again, just my opinion, but I think you're going to be better off putting those points into things that are going to help you turn your fights faster, whether that means more health for survivability or more damage by putting them into the element that you're attacking in. That's going to weigh off better than the wisdom, which costs you 3 character points for every one. So in my opinion, no, don't be pumping the points that you get from leveling your character into wisdom to try to level faster. I don't think the increase is worth it. However, there are many ways you can increase your wisdom, and we're gonna go over a big list of them right now. One really common way to get a nice permanent wisdom buff is through the characteristic scroll. Quick side note here, typically once you've got your small and your wisdom done, it's better to buy the powerful ones, which are worth 2 points, instead of the great ones. As you can tell, the comma value down there, you get more bang for your buck by going straight to the powerful ones. Additionally, if scrolls aren't your cup of tea, maybe you're a high level fisherman, you can look into making some of these fish as well. These edible fish will give you wisdom characteristic points just like the scrolls. If you do, however, want to get those characteristic scrolls for free, there's 2 ways you can do it, but they do require a lot more work. The first option is you can go to the militia in the different cities and go on the bounty hunts. If you capture those characters, bring them back, they will give you doubloons. Those doubloons can then be taken to the god temples and exchanged for characteristic scrolls that way. Your second options are you can either purchase Drago Turkey certificates. If you are a breeder and you have a bunch of extra Drago Turkeys, you can bring them to this guy at the Amakna Castle for -6 and exchange them. I'm going to flash a table on the screen here, shows you what you would have to exchange to get which of the scrolls. That's another option for you though if you're trying to get them characteristic scrolls and you don't want to just buy them straight from the market. Another way to get some easy XP, if you've got some commas burning in your pocket, you can come to the consumables market and buy these parchments. The white parchment will give you about 200 XP, the ivory about 2,000, and the golden about 20,000. Now I say about there because there's some kind of a little multiplier that takes place, gives you a little bit more, but that's typically where they land. And personally, I think these work best if you are still low level, or if you're leveling an alt character. You might use these just to jump those first 10, 15 levels. After that, they don't really give you much considering what you have to pay for them. For short-term XP boost, you've got some great treats you can also pick up here from the consumables market. I got 4 I'll point out to you here real fast. The chocolate candy here will give you a +15 wisdom for 5 fights, and it actually gives you 15 for all stats, but wisdom is included in that list. Next, you have the banana, and this is going to give you +20 wisdom for 5 fights. The praline candy is a bit more expensive, but this is going to give you 30 wisdom for 30 fights. However, if money is no object for you, and maybe it's a double XP weekend and you're getting up there to an area you don't normally go to, perhaps you want to get one of these bitter candies. It's going to give you 100 wisdom for 30 fights, but man, you're gonna pay for it. Next is scrolling the wisdom of your character. Your equipment is probably the next best place you're going to get a more permanent form of wisdom on your character. Now, at the higher levels, wisdom begins to be in almost everything that you get in different amounts, but in the lower levels, it can be a bit tricky to find the right pieces. I got a few that I'm going to point out here to you as suggestions if you're looking for some ideas. When it comes to low level, the nice thing about rings is you get to wear 2 of them. So even if you've got a set, you got one spot that you can put with a miscellaneous ring. Level 12, get a green peewee ring. You can usually find one with the 10 wisdom on it for next to nothing. Fantastic way to get a little 10% buff in your XP. Another ring that I'll point out to you comes with a slight debuff in your damage, but it's got a nice chunk of wisdom, and you can wear 2 of these since it's not part of a set. So if you're not really hurting on what goes in your ring, you can stack on an extra 25 to 50 wisdom on your character. And it's not uncommon to find these things overmade since most people know they go to this ring for wisdom. But you go to the market, grab you 1 or 2 of these things, and you can get a nice buff at level 26. One last ring I'll point out to you here is the Pata ring at 56. Again, you get a 25 wisdom on there. I think you can wear 2 of these ones as well because it's not part of a set, and it's got some very good stats that go along with it. So that's another option for you if you're looking for a ring maybe a little higher than the low levels. A couple honorable mentions here if you're still in those low levels, maybe need something other than a ring. The Prespic set used to be the go-to wisdom setup. It's been kind of nerfed in that aspect. However, people still think of it as wisdom pieces. So even though it's got decent wisdom, you can still find people that will again overmage the wisdom because they know people come here looking for it. All right, one more set that I will point out to you here that's in the mid-range, right at the low 100s, is the Minotaur set. There are some pieces on here that have a crazy amount of wisdom. So if you can snag one of these and place it in place of something that you're not really using that much, you can really buff up your wisdom with just 1 or 2 of these pieces as well. All right, I got 3 weapons that I'll point out to you kind of again for the lower level stuff because wisdom is in so much stuff once you start getting up to the mid to upper levels. It's pointless for me to try to find a bunch of those. But at the early game, some of these low level wisdom pieces can make a big difference in your leveling speed. First one I'm going to bring up is definitely the Staff Bonely. It's a level 8 staff. It requires only a little bit of agility. If you pump some agility points into your characteristics, you can grab this, or if you got an agility ring, you can grab this. 10 wisdom, and it costs 50 commas. Super cheap. Knock out a quest or 2, you could have this and get a nice little buff to your XP. If you get a little bit higher, up here at level 27 is this Wisdom Wand. Imagine that, it's got wisdom on it. Now you will take a little bit of a penalty against your element, but you get a nice vitality buff, which I think really offsets that well. Last one I'm going to point out, level 50, is this Bare Edge Stick. Now this one right here has even actually been slightly overmaged in the wisdom, and it's the cheapest one on the list at 69 KK. So if you're around level 50, still wanting something that carries a lot of wisdom, you might consider this. There's no requirements to wear it, so anybody can do it, and it gives you a range. So if you're a range modifiable character, you got that perk on there as well. And one last piece that I will definitely mention underneath the equipment category is a Cowet Dofus. Level 60 to wear it, but you get 60 wisdom. That's a 60% increase to your XP just by having this on your list. So maybe swap it out for a low damage trophy if you're gonna go XP grinding for a little while. Not too difficult to get and a great thing to have on you. All right, now you want to get to the fighting side of things. How can you maximize your XP while fighting? Well, I got a lot of suggestions here for you, and the first thing we're definitely going to start off with is probably one of the most well-known ones is the area bonuses. You bring up your map, click on this little chest right here, then if you click the bonus, it's going to sort it from highest to lowest, which areas have the biggest bonus. I've covered this thing and how to use it in a few videos, so I won't go into a whole lot of detail about it here, but this is definitely something you should be considering. Now, something I recently learned though, even an area that has a penalty, if you run around in there, you will find some maps that even though there's a penalty, other maps will have a slight bonus. So perhaps there's an area that you like to go fight the mobs. It might still be worth going there and kind of running around the different maps trying to find the ones that have a slight bonus to them. It's kind of weird. I just discovered that while actually making this video, so I don't know if that'll be something that's patched out at some point, but as of right now, you can find some areas with bonus and some areas with penalty inside the same area. Another thing I'll point out about map bonuses and penalties, the area might have a penalty, but the dungeon might have a bonus. Right now here in the Tofu area, it's got a penalty going on. But if you look over here at the Tofu house, there is a 90% bonus. So just because an area is in gray, make sure you check that dungeon. If it's one that you like to run, there might still be a bonus on it. All right, here's another tip for you that may sound like common sense, but I'm going to show you why it makes a difference. And that is fight groups that are close to your level cap. and preferably in areas that are also close to your level. I got some images I'm going to show up here on the screen. You're going to see that even though the penalties, I made sure to pick areas where the penalties were the same, where the bonus was the same, but you'll see that even though the level numbers are about the same, the XP can be substantially different. For example, the low level one is a level 10 area compared with a level 30 area. And in the high level image, I'm comparing 3 different areas of Frigos, from the village at level 110, I believe, up to 170, and then up to 190. You can see that there's a huge XP bonus difference just because I'm fighting characters that are not only close to my level cap, but also close to my level. Also, fighting more creatures in a mob doesn't guarantee more XP. You will see that even though there's a small mob and a big mob on that map, both at a high and low level area, there is very little difference in the XP you're going to get. So you could turn that small fight so much faster than the big fight, and you get almost the same amount of XP. So you want to fight in your area, and you want to fight close to your level cap. More creatures doesn't necessarily mean more XP. A couple things to think about is also your class. Are you the type of class that needs to fight from a distance, or do you need to stay close to your enemies? If you need distance, try to fight enemies in areas that typically will run from you, as long as you have distance spells that you can catch them with. If you're a close combat character, go after mobs that are going to be constantly charging at you. As long as you can take the damage they're going to dish out, that saves you from having to waste a lot of time chasing those enemies down, and you can turn the fights fast. It may sound like common sense, but the goal here, if you're trying to get a lot of XP in a short amount of time, you want to turn those fights fast. Idols are another fantastic way you can increase, sometimes substantially, the amount of XP you'll get from a fight. But the trick is not to make it so difficult that your fights are taking substantially longer and you're not actually coming out ahead on your XP. If you're a class that's going to keep the enemies away and you're going to be able to attack from a distance, the Oath idols can be an excellent option for you, as they're going to get a big damage buff, but only their close combat. So as long as you can keep them away, these can be fantastic. On the flip side of that, if you are a close combat damage attacker and you know you're going to be right there on them all the time, use the Yosh idols. You can get these, stack them on, and as long as you stay close to that enemy, every time you hit, they don't get any buff at all. So these are great if you're a close combat fighter. And if you're looking for an idol that will really help buff up that score and hopefully the XP you get from a fight, as long as you know you can either take the hits if they get you, or you can keep them away for the entire fight, these Behelit idols are a great way to add a big buff. It gives them a big thing of damage, but it also adds to that score very nicely. All right, another resource that's really good, especially for higher level characters, and that is if you don't already know about it. This Dofensive website is fantastic for looking up enemies and finding exactly how their spells and attacks work. You can search up any character you want, come down here and click the spell, and then you can even click them on the map and see exactly the AoE or any kind of effects that that spell is going to have. Fantastic resource if you're going to go try to grind in an area and you need to know specifically what those monsters can do. I'll make sure and leave a link of this as well in the description to make it real easy to find if you don't know how to get there. Another tip I got for you when you are in a fight, those fight challenges can be fantastic ways to get extra XP for the fight. However, skip the super difficult ones. Who cares if it's giving you 125% XP bonus if it's going to take you 3 times longer to do the fight? Now, if you're also trying to get a rare drop that might be coming from that, that's different. But if the goal is just to be getting XP and you know that trying to get that achievement is going to make the fight take 10 minutes instead of 2 minutes, well, it might be best just to blow past that challenge and go turn some more fights quickly. I've preached this several times, but achievements are also another fantastic way to be getting XP, and a lot of times you can even be doing some of these passively as you're doing other things. Trying to get the cow at Dofus, might as well try to knock out the Wabbit achievements while you're there. In those early stages and grinding the peewees and the forest animals and all those things right around Astrib, well, again, there's some achievements you can be knocking out as you're doing those, and you get XP along the way. Cool thing is too, if it's your first time doing it, you also get a chunk of resources with it. So that's a perk within a perk. Dungeon room bosses obviously can be a fantastic way to get XP as well. A little more tricky maybe if you're running solo or with a sidekick. You got to be mindful of what it is you're going to attack. Also, a couple things you got to think about before you make that run. Are the rooms getting to the boss going to be very good XP for you? 2, when you do those fights, how long are they going to take you? Because you're going to be outnumbered most likely your whole way through if you're running solo. Obviously, if you got a team, not a big deal. If you're running solo though, it could take you a bit. 3, what's your level cap compared to the dungeon? If you're over the level cap, if you can knock out 3 or 4 of those achievements on a single run, you can get a ton of XP and common resources on a single trip, making it very much worth your time. And if you only have a couple minutes, say, Ben, I got 5 minutes. What kind of XP can I get for 5 minutes? Well, this is what you do. You come in here and you knock out your almanacs. Most of the time, these things can be accomplished in less than 5 minutes, maybe even faster if all you do is run right out here to the merchants and buy the resource that you need. But you come here, you're going to get a crazy amount of XP, sometimes some fantastic commas, and you're done in no time at all. If this is the only thing you get to do daily, it's worth making the effort to do so. So, what was your favorite suggestion, or what suggestion did I leave off the list that you like to use for XP grinding? Leave it in the comments below and share that information. It would be super helpful. And if you want to catch me live playing Dofus, Wakfu, Final Fantasy XIV, and who knows what else, you can catch me on Twitch at Benjamight Gaming. I'll be sure to leave a link of it in the description below. Currently, I'm streaming there every Tuesday and Friday night. Hope you can make it. If you could do me one favor, if you haven't already, and smack that like button, I would really appreciate it. Until next time, you all be safe out there, and I will see you on the next one.